on the bell. Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Scarlet Fu. We're counting you down to the closing bell. Here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with Massar and Matt Miller. Welcome to our audiences across Bloomberg Television, Radio, Originals, and those folks streaming on YouTube. We're pushing a little bit higher here as we get closer to the closing bell. Big tech not necessarily participating in this rally, but banks, a lot of energy names, and a lot of healthcare names as well.
Yeah, Romaine, you mentioned banks, really an outperformer following those stress tests that we got late last night. The KBW Bank Index up about 1.8%. I think, Scarlett, you mentioned them earlier as well. So, Matt, that's where we're seeing some really strong outperformance.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you're even seeing decent performance from banks that performed poorly in the stress test. We were just talking about the fact that Goldman Sachs got hit the hardest if you consider the kind of additional stresses, market catastrophe stresses that the Fed put on them. Citi, I think, in terms of the big banks, did the worst of the bunch, but even it is not down in this market.
Yeah, KRE, the ETF that tracks the regional banks, up by 1.8% on the day.
I think it's interesting here, too, when we talk about whether this rally has some sustainability once we get to the end of this first half here. Do you double down on some of those big tech bets that I think everyone made here? Because are you going to find gains, real growth in price in banks or in materials or in some of those cyclical names?
Or is it a place to park right now and rotate into as you maybe stay away from the big winners of the first half?
Interesting to see, though, that as we get to these closing bells, the latest data on some of those money market funds.
I was just going to say
cash
that.
coming out of money markets for a third straight week here. So maybe, just maybe here, some of that so-called dry powder potentially being put to work. The Dow Jones Industrial Average getting a little bit of that dry powder today, going to finish the day higher by more than 200 points, or about 0.8%. The S&P 500 higher by about 20 points, or 0.5% on the day. The NASDAQ Composite, which has spent a good portion of the day in the red, looks like it's going to finish relatively unchanged here, while the Russell 2000, that was your outperformer on the day, higher by about 23 points, or 1.2%.
All right, Romaine, you mentioned the S&P 500. You did have most names in the index actually higher today. You're looking at about 391 to the upside. You have 109 names actually losing some ground today, Matt, and 3 unchanged.
Take a look at the industry groups here. You can see that the banks, the financials, really powering this rally right up there at the top, a gain of 1.5%, and materials and energy doing well alongside industrials. This is, I think, that rotation that Scarlett and Romaine were talking about. On the downside, you do have communication services falling more than consumer staples, utilities, and consumer discretionary.
All right, everybody. Let's get to some of the individual gainers. And I do just want to highlight, I'm sure you guys talked about it earlier, because we're starting to see some IPOs slowly come back into the market. So honorable mention, I do want to just mention Savers Value Village, because in its first day of trading, ending with a 28% gain. And this was a stock that priced above its range. It was oversubscribed. So, you know, when we look,
you had the CEO,
a thrift store,
Yeah, you guys talked to the CEO, right?
Yeah, we did. Savers Value Village.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
It is interesting they came to market.
Yeah.
With two other companies, I should say. So we had a thrift store go public, we had a gas company go public, and we had an insurance company go public.
Yeah, right. We're finally seeing things loosening up a little bit, which I think if you're looking for indicators about maybe the healthiness of the market, maybe that's one of them. Overstock, we talked about it last night. I just want to bring it up again. That stock outperforming, up almost 20% in today's session. That news late yesterday. The company is planning to relaunch Bed Bath & Beyond online in the U.S. and Canada. Barclays says the deal is potentially transformative for the brand. That stock, Overstock, now up about 50% year to date. And just one more for everybody, Lucid Group. It's been on a tear, rallying again today. 4th day of gains, about 25% higher this week overall, up another 7% in today's session. Still kind of barely changed on the year, and about 20% of the float is shorted. But you know, earlier this week, Aston Martin and Lucid joining forces in a Saudi-backed EV supply pact. So we've definitely seen, Matt, some momentum into that one.
All right, let's take a look at the decliners. Micron falling to a 6-week low, the biggest U.S. memory chip maker, reversing some early gains. Yesterday's earnings report really reinforcing concern that it faces a slow recovery from this inventory glut that's crippled its finances. And of course, this is as restrictions on its products sales in China threatens a whole big chunk of its revenue as well. Virgin Galactic losing almost 11%. It was launch day for Virgin Galactic. After years of delay, they finally sent people into space. First commercial trip, paying customers got what they wanted. Maybe it was a buy on rumors.
So what did they do when they got up there? Did they just like walk around or something? What?
Do they get off the rocket ship? I don't know about that.
No,
I don't believe so.
That would be awesome if you got to get out and hang around in space, but I don't think so.
They just go for the ride and then they come right back home. Also, I wanted to.
How much did that cost?
A lot of money.
Like 450, I think.
Yeah,
okay.
Quite a bit.
I got $450.
Well, we can send you there, and you can FaceTime us. How about that? Just a quick mention here of BioXcel Therapeutics. It's the biggest decliner in the NASDAQ composite. Every day when I check the NASDAQ composite, there's a biotech stock at the very bottom, and this is today's entry. Down the most since its IPO 2 years ago. The company said someone faked email correspondence and provided that to the FDA during an on-site investigation last year. So as a result, it's looking into data integrity issues at that facility. Not good.
All right. Most of the price action today, you're actually going to find it in the Treasury market, 4.86% right now on the 2-year yield. That's about 15 basis points higher than where it was about 24 hours ago. Similar moves on the rest of the curve. A 5-year yield up 15, 16 basis points. Even the 10 jumping about 13 basis points here on the day. Of course, a lot of that, guys, had to do with the economic data that we got this morning, kind of bolstering the idea. Some of the commentary we've been getting out of Powell, who's been over in Europe all week long, beating the drum, saying we're getting more rate hikes, and, well, the data seems to back him up on that.
Yeah, right. Now he's saying at least 2 more. So, you do wonder how high do we ultimately go, and then what are the implications of that? And I guess time will tell in terms of what kind of pain we feel, certainly in terms of economic pain, consumer pain, and certainly in the banking sector.
I mean, Powell said at least 2 more 4 times in the last week.
Yeah.
But I guess it only matters if he said it today.
No, it only matters after a better than expected GDP report for the first quarter that shows the economy growing in the 2-handle.
True. I know. I was excited to see that. I was actually like my jaw dropped when I saw it. And household spending was 4.2%, the biggest increase in 2 years. But that's very backward-looking data. I mean, it's 3 months old tomorrow, right?
Well, a lot of people are also looking at that so-called GDI, which basically is a broader measure of income, and the fact that that's been in contraction now for a couple of straight quarters. And we were speaking with Tiffany Wilding over at PIMCO, and she said, that basically that's kind of the canary in the coal mine here. Yeah, the economy overall, at least based on GDP, is holding up here, but that's not going to continue to hold up if you don't see that rebound in that GDI number.
And maybe another canary, we caught up with Sonia Meskin over at BNY Mellon Management, and she said in those bank stress tests, did you notice some of the concerns about credit cards and that we're seeing more and more credit card debt piling up? So maybe that is also something that becomes more problematic, and it means a slowdown in consumer spending going forward.
Yeah. Definitely want to watch the consumer. I think there's still more than $1 trillion in excess savings in the bank accounts. But why, if that really is, I guess, widely spread, would they be racking up credit cards and defaulting on car loans at the rates that they are right now?
Well, because they're also going to be paying back their student loans starting in September, right?
Maybe, right?
Yeah. Well, for now.
Exactly.
Well, for now, but it gets to this idea, though, too, is that how do you sort of chart, if you're an investor, I mean, how do you chart a course over the next few months with all these kind of overhangs here, right? Because, I mean, you can make a case that the economy is doing great. Then Carol can make a case that the economy is not doing great. And I don't know. I mean, what do you do as an investor?
AI? Yeah, because it's going to make everything more efficient.
Well, you know what? Strategists will say longer term, the stock market goes higher. What? Did I see what?
Nothing, Carol.
I would do a barbell strategy, but half in AI and half in brokered deposits.
That's a barbell. Right? That's a barbell strategy. Matt, did you go shopping? Where'd you get these suspenders from?
No, I'm wearing an older suit, and it doesn't have belt loops. It only has suspender straps. So it was my only choice.
I was having. It's funny.
Channel 1980s banker.
I was having this conversation with my wife the other day because we had dinner with somebody who was wearing suspenders, and I was like, I can't remember the last time I saw like someone who wasn't like 80 years old wearing suspenders. But it looks good on you.
I'm a little young.
I mean, I only can see you from the chest up.
Slightly younger.
Wait a minute. Speaking of new suits, is that a new suit, Romaine?
Yeah, it is. There are no
Did you do some
suspenders.
shopping?
There's no
It's a summer
suspenders
suit.
attached to it.
It's a summer suit.
yeah.
So listen, let's think about
Had to keep up with Matt.
what's gonna come our way tomorrow. Just quickly, we've got PCE core. We're gonna get some inflation. We're gonna get consumer expectations on inflation and current conditions. So we'll have some more economic data points to get an idea if Jay Powell's right that
And we'll have
we
Nike
gotta
earnings.
keep raising. No, that's gonna
In
come
about
very
7
soon.
minutes.
Yes.
That's sooner. I was talking about tomorrow.
Well, for tomorrow's market is what I mean.
That'll come out tomorrow. Okay, I guess we have to wrap. Yes, we do have Nike earnings coming any moment. All right, guys, we will see you tomorrow. Catch us for our market coverage cross-platform. We do it at 3 and 4 p.m. Wall Street time. Carol Massar, Matt Miller, Scarlet Fu, and of course, what's the other one? Oh yeah, Romaine Bostick. Catch us tomorrow, everybody.